Cats. I'm Emma Black.
And I'm Giselle Harris. Welcome to the 8th episode of Locker Talk. Now, for first-time listeners, what is this podcast all about? Emma, tell our friends a little bit about Locker Talk.
Sure thing, Giselle. Our podcast is a fun-filled voice-over audio conversation. Our focus is to learn something about an individual. Do you have a special talent or a cool pet or what? That individual could be you. If you're interested in being in our podcast, we would love to see and get to know you. Please contact Walton, WLHW at k12alma.org if you're interested.
Here with us today, we have a meteorologist, Hannah Scholl.
Hi, Ms. Scholl. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a meteorologist, as Giselle said, and I work at CBS 19 News in Charlottesville. I just tell people the weather every day.
Time for the icebreaker. What is one thing in your life that you are really good at?
I think that I'm really good at planning and I really enjoy it. So sometimes I will just plan something that doesn't really need to be planned for no reason, just so I can research things to do and plan fun trips or something. But it's just a hobby, and also I would like to think that I'm good at it.
Wow, that is so cool. I've never really thought of that. That's something that's really cool. Let's get moving into some more in-depth questions.
How has being a meteorologist changed because of COVID-19? If so, how?
Well, I actually graduated from college in May of 2020. So I did my job search during COVID-19. So my entire career has been during the pandemic. So I was not a meteorologist prior to that, but I can tell you that we still come in person to work, and we did all throughout the pandemic. And we just have to wear masks at work, and we limit the amount of people who come into the studio. And some of our camera shots changed because people can't stand as close to each other anymore. But besides that, the meteorology industry has been largely unchanged by the pandemic.
Wow, that is super cool. What college did you graduate from?
I graduated from the University of Oklahoma.
Working at CBS, how does your program determine what the weather is going to be like outside before that day and time?
Well, me and our other meteorologists, we come in 2 hours before the show. We look at a bunch of data. There's two different types of data we look at. It's the observations, what's currently going on. So the temperature, wind, pressure, all across the States to see what's happening, mostly to the west of us or to the south of us, because that usually ends up affecting us in the future. And then we also look at computer simulations of what the computer thinks is going to happen. And there's a bunch of different computer models that are made from a bunch of different mathematical equations. And through that, we can kind of use our knowledge of the area and our knowledge of weather to put together a forecast for the whole next week.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of math and process to get into the weather. We're thankful, because I always am using my phone to know the weather so that I know what I can know for the future.
When using a green screen, how do you know where to point and when addressing the weather?
I have a monitor to my right and a monitor to my left, and I have a monitor to the front of me. And all three of those kind of act like mirrors, except that it's opposite from what I'm actually doing. But I see what goes out to TV. So I see my maps behind me and all the numbers on them. So that really helps me out.
Wow, that's crazy. Have you ever accidentally messed up with the mirror vision? I'm sure that's so hard to read.
Yeah, sometimes I point to the wrong thing, or I move the wrong way and I get cut off on the side of the screen, but nothing too bad has happened yet.
It's really complicated sometimes.
I don't know if I'd be able to do it. My mind would get so confused. We would love for you to walk us through your day as a meteorologist, from when you walk in to the time you leave and all in between.
Okay, so I work a number of different shifts. So I filled in for the morning person and for the night person, and then I work during the day usually. But if I'm in the morning, I come in at 3 a.m. And if I work at night, I come in at 2 p.m. But first thing I usually do is I record a couple different hits for weather on the radio. So I'll go into our radio booth. I'll just talk about the weather for a couple seconds for a couple different radio stations that our TV station is partnered with. And once that's done, I come out here into the studio where our weather office is. And I look at all of our weather information that I talked about earlier, the computer models and the observations. And I use that to put together my forecast. That takes me like 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what's happening in the weather. After that, I make my graphics. So we have our graphics program here in the studio, and it has everything we need to generate all the maps and things that you see on TV. After I make all my graphics, I usually go and do my hair and my makeup. I do it all myself. I don't have a hair and makeup person. That probably won't happen until I'm in a much bigger market than Charlottesville. But I enjoy doing my own hair and makeup, so that's fine. Then I have to record some short videos about weather for social media and for our website. After that, so then I update social media. I record an app update for our weather app, and then it's showtime usually. So in the evenings, my usual schedule is I do the 4 p.m. and the 5 p.m. shows. So I have 3 different times where I talk about the weather in each half hour. So total, I talk about the weather 12 times in the 2 hours. And I don't write what I say. I just pick out which graphics tell the best weather story. And then I kind of make things up as I go, which, sometimes I mess up and it's on live television, but we're getting to a point where I don't mess up as much anymore.
Wow, that is incredible in such a long day. Wow.
I have a question about the shifts. So how many times do meteorologists usually film a day?
So we have a morning meteorologist who works from 3 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And he does the 5 and 6 a.m. shows. And then he also does a 12 p.m. show. And then in the evening, I work. So there's a 4, a 5, and a 6 p.m. show. And then at night, there's a 10 and an 11. So those are all the chances that you have to see a meteorologist on TV.
Wow, that's super cool. And it was crazy to hear like all the different things that your role has to do, like being on the radio, being on live television, and having to plan all that stuff out. It's really incredible. It's such a cool job. To end this wonderful time up together, we wanted to know what made you want to pursue the career of being a meteorologist.
So when I was growing up, I was homeschooled, and one of the things that we did to help us learn was we went to a lot of different museums. So one of the museums that I went to had a exhibit about meteorology, and it had a green screen set up, and you can pretend you were a meteorologist on the green screen. So I was probably 9 at that point, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so then I really wanted to become a meteorologist. And then a couple times throughout my life after that, before going to college, I saw a couple different movies about weather, the IMAX film on hurricane hunters and also on storm chasers. Both were really inspiring to me. To want to learn about severe weather and big weather events like hurricanes. And then luckily when I got to high school and I knew that I was good at math and science, which is one of the things that people don't think about when they want to be a meteorologist, but there's a lot of math and science that goes into it. So luckily I was good at math and science, and I really still enjoyed weather. So I decided that that is what I wanted to do and what I wanted to study when I went to college.
Before we go today, each episode we will be giving you a letter, a number, or even a symbol to help you get the combination to the locker. At the end of the year, if you have the correct combination, you can get a special prize. So today is a letter, W. Make sure to write it down so that you can win this special prize.
Well, Wildcats, that concludes our episode today. Make sure to come back next time. A special thanks to Mitchell for meeting with us today. We are so thankful.
That's the combination to this locker. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.